Welcome to episode 2 of the San Antonio Women podcast, the Women in Law series, and I'm your guest host, Jenny Marshall. Today our guest is Tiffanie Clausewitz of Clausewitz Reyes. Thanks so much for coming today, Tiffanie. How are you?
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
So tell us a little bit about your firm, Clausewitz Reyes.
We formed our firm about 5 years ago. We hit our 5-year anniversary actually in August.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much. And we provide business legal services. So we provide both the transactional services and litigation services for our clients. Most of our clients are local or regional, not all, but most of them here in San Antonio, and they're small to mid-sized businesses. And we just try to be the mostly one-stop shop for whatever they need. There are certain specialty areas of the law that we will refer out to trusted partners, but we try to become part of their team, their trusted counsel, and help the businesses grow.
Are you native to San Antonio?
I am not. I was actually born in Alice, Texas. Grew up down there, went to undergrad at Texas A&M, and when I graduated from Texas A&M, I then moved to San Antonio and have been here since 97, so longer than not.
We will claim you as our
Actively native.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, tell us how you chose business law.
Well, it's funny. When I went to law school, I really didn't know what area of law I wanted to practice in. I joked that I just wasn't going to go anywhere near litigation, which is where I ended up starting my practice. And then I was the briefing attorney for the Chief Justice Catherine Stone in 2008 in the appellate courts. And so I really wanted to practice in appellate law, but the market at the time, this is 2008, 2009, was terrible. And so it was really a matter of where can I practice? So the long story short, I ended up in commercial litigation, thinking to myself that, well, as long as I'm representing business entities, that's fine. I don't really want to do family law that takes a special people to practice family law, but it's so personal, so visceral, and I thought I'll just stick with businesses. And what I didn't realize at the time, the joke is on me, is that business is very personal. Business owners take their businesses very personally. It's part of it. It's like another member of their family. It's something that most of their wealth is probably invested in if you're a business owner. And the people that they work with are also like their family. And so when issues come up with these business owners, there's a lot of emotion behind it. But our job is to, kind of be that again, use the term before, trusted advisor, but counselor, to say, we understand what you're feeling, but we're going to try and help you make what is the best business choice for you and your business.
Being a female business owner, how do you feel like that helps you connect with clients?
I think that there's a couple of things. There's definitely some kind of implicit bias that women in general encounter, and sometimes that can maybe end up to your advantage. I think a lot of times as a woman attorney, people think that maybe we're a little bit softer and easier to work against when you're in the litigation context. And what they realize really quickly, I've had several clients kind of joke with me that, you're all fun and games and nice and friendly, and then until, the claws have to come out. And I'm like, and again, we reserve that for when it's necessary. I think there's some relationship building that is not necessarily easier, but we, as women, we bring a certain quality to it. And so we are able to connect with our clients in different ways. I would never say that men are better or women are better as attorneys. I think we all have our strengths, but I definitely think there are some advantages to being a woman in law.
If you could give some advice to young women who are in law school or graduating and taking the bar, what advice would you give them?
I think one of the biggest pieces of advice I would give is you have to give yourself some grace and the flexibility to look at what options are available to you and take advantage of them. A lot of law students go in kind of single-minded. They've maybe had a plan their whole life to be an attorney and to be this certain kind of attorney and work at a certain kind of firm. And when that doesn't work out, it can really undercut them and be a blow to their psyche, their self-confidence, and they're not sure, like, hey, I've worked so hard. This is what I want to do the whole time, and I'm not getting what I want. or what I thought I wanted. And I have really found throughout my legal career that it is staying open to opportunities and understanding that when I have hit a roadblock, there's a reason, and it just means there's something better in a different direction. And so I think it's super important as a woman, particularly in the law. We've got extra challenges when it comes to our responsibilities as moms and caretakers. To the extent you are a mom or you're caretaking, whether you have a partner or a parents you're taking care of, we have extra responsibilities that sometimes just come back to us, and so that has to be taken into the equation. But if you allow yourself again that flexibility to look at different opportunities and figure out how to practice law the way you really want to authentically, not the way you think you were supposed to do it.
Wow. So I have 3 children and you have 3
Yep.
children. Tell us a little bit about your family, and does family play a big part of you opening up your own firm?
Oh, absolutely, they do. So I have my oldest daughter is 21. She is at Baylor. And then my son is 18. He's about to start at Baylor. And my youngest is 16, and she's still in high school. But when I went to law school, I actually had worked for almost 10 years before I went to law school. And when I started, I already had Catherine. She was 2 when I started law school. And then I was pregnant my first year of law school, and I had Patrick. So we joke he already has a year of law school under his belt. Unfortunately, Baylor Law doesn't agree with him, and that's where he would like to go to school after undergrad. So I had him. And then my youngest, I had her at the end of my first year of practice, my briefing attorney year. So they have been in the thick of it the whole time, and they have necessarily, because I've had children my entire legal career, they've always been a consideration, right? They've always been
Absolutely.
part of my decision making, my prioritizing, and how I've worked. And so being able to be present for them and give them what they need, but while also following my own passions, my own career goals, has been it's been a huge part of the entire journey, and that I keep coming back to. And that absolutely was one of the factors in deciding to open my own firm. I had just gotten to a point in my practice where I thought, if I'm going to work this hard, I want to do it for myself. And there's something empowering and also incredibly frightening about only answering to yourself, because you, guess what, can't blame anybody else for anything that goes wrong. It's all in your hands. But it has been an amazing journey, and it's been great for my kids to see it happen. I think they've learned a lot. And whenever I've worried that maybe this career has kept me from being as involved as I wish I could have been, one of them will say something or do something something they've picked up or observed from what I've done in my career. And the best compliments I ever receive are when my kids say they're proud of what I do. So.
Oh, that's so nice. You have been such an instrumental part of San Antonio and Bexar County Women's Bar, and you've really taken it to the next step in, um, what you've created. And so tell us a little bit about, your community involvement, your women's bar involvement, and what that it has national now accolades. And tell us a little bit about that.
Absolutely. So I was president of the Women's Bar in 2014, and as part of the Bexar County Women's Bar, what they do is they always offer. They're looking for some kind of project to offer to the public to kind of give back.
Oh.
And so we joked, we called it the next big thing, NBT, which also happened to be a Disney series at the time, which might reflect where my children were at that point.
Sure.
Disney Channel. So we were doing a kind of looking around, like, what can we do to give back to the community? And at the same time, I happened to be looking for leadership development opportunities for myself. I was president of the organization, but I felt like there was more I could do. I could develop my skills, but I really couldn't find anything out there that I felt like suited me or suited and particularly in the practice of law. And so, long story short, the Women's Bar, we created the Lead Academy, which is a leadership development academy for women attorneys. And so we spend a year going through a curriculum that it kind of goes back to what the advice I was giving for potential law school students, lawyers. It helps our class members to kind of do some self-evaluation and development about why are you an attorney and who are you authentically and how, what do you want to do and what do you want to be? And then it turns and goes into development of those skills that are necessary to be a good leader, not just in the legal community, but also in our city and our region, in the nonprofit space. And so it's been hugely important. I call it my fourth child. It's just one of the most gratifying things I think I've ever done was being able to lead that effort and developing the program. So we're in our 7th year, and we graduate about 16 students every year. And it's been fantastic. And the network of women, I see a real tie from when I started practicing law. I realized kind of up front with some advice of friends when I was starting law school, like, this is really daunting. I'm not sure what to do. And a friend of mine who was already practicing attorney said, go join the women's organization. That's going to be your jam. They're going to be your people. Go join that. You need to find your community. And she was absolutely right. I mean, just that one piece of advice. I joined the Women's Law Association. That association, when I was president of that, the president sat on the Bexar County Women's Bar Board. So I was on the board of the Women's Bar, which then became my community. When I graduated, and I was on the board and up through president, and then developing this leadership academy. And so I think when you have a community of in this case, women, a community of women who are practicing in the same space as you are and are experiencing some of the same challenges that are unique to your profession, it is really powerful to have a network of women so that when you feel alone and isolated and, wondering, you have that imposter syndrome kind of, kick in, all you have to do is reach out to that group and they are going to, lift you right back up and help you realize, you're not alone, you're on the right path. So.
It is such a great organization. I can't say there's so many compliments I would love to say about it. It's been around. It's really brought Bexar County Women's Bar, and it's just been very helpful for so many people and so many women who are, new lawyers, seasoned lawyers. It's really helped them try and navigate, what's the next step for them or what's their next career. And, they're so lucky to have you as a leader, and you have done so much for San Antonio. Tell us about, do you have any next big adventures coming up?
Next big adventures? No, it's interesting because, I'm going to be around. I'm not the director of LEAD anymore. I was director through the first 3 classes and then really felt like if the program was going to continue, I wanted to make sure that it could continue without me as a head. Wanted to make sure it wasn't, it wasn't Tiffany's program or Tiffany in the original steering committee's program. And so I made the decision to step back. And so since then, we have 2-year terms for our directors. But I'll stay on the steering committee till they kick me out. They all know they have permission to kick me out, but hopefully they won't for a long time. So I'm going to continue focusing my passion for that there. But in the process of all of that is when I opened my firm. And it was actually, I joke that it was because of LEAD that I did that, even though I was the director and on the steering committee. We as steering committee members learn just as much as the students do every year from the incredible speakers that come in. And that was when I realized I had been telling myself for a few years, I didn't want to own my own firm. I just didn't have any interest. And it finally hit me that it's not that you don't have interest. You don't think you can do it. You don't think you have the skills. You don't think you can be successful at it. And it was from all of that work and LEAD that was the light bulb that was like, it's not that that's why you're not comfortable. You don't know what's going on. You can't figure out, because I went through a real period of like, I need to be doing something different and I don't know what it is. And it was kind of an aha moment in one of those sessions. And sure enough, that was the network that when I said, okay, this may be crazy, and most of them said, it's not crazy. We've been waiting for you to come to that realization that this is what you needed to do. So I'm still focused on that. We're only 5 years old. And so I feel like we're coming out of infancy. Maybe we're still in toddler years, maybe. Again, blink of an eye. It's we were chatting with you earlier about with children, days are long. days are long, years are short. It's the same thing with running a business. Days are long, years are short. I can't believe we've been around 5 years, but I'm really focused with my law partner, Shelly Reyes, on figuring out what's next. What do we want to do to kind of continue the growth and establishing ourselves as a premier law firm in San Antonio.
That's fantastic. A little birdie told me that you might be a Swiftie. Oh, is that a tree?
Okay, so I'm not as Swiftie as some of my Swiftie other fellow lawyer friends.
Okay.
But I enjoy watching the Swifties
Okay.
and the craziness that goes along with that. I'm incredibly jealous of several acquaintances who have gone to the concert and done the whole thing. As close as I've gotten is a group of us went to the movie cast, right? And got dressed up for that. So it's super fun. And I just really, I'm not cool and hip or with anything, but I just admire Taylor Swift for what she's done as a woman and what she has done from being a young woman in business for the past, it was a couple decades now, I think, right? And the example she has set for women. And so if I'm close to Swiftie, that's the main reason. I mean, her music's great, but really I'm more about, I feel like her example that she's setting for young women, that they can do whatever it is they want to do.
Well, and she's pioneering business for a woman. So much.
Yeah.
And I think that that's huge, especially for the next couple generations.
Absolutely. Yeah.
We are lucky enough to be graduating more women lawyers, and, women are on the boards now, and they are part of, the hiring committees and large law firms, and we have so much to give. If you could give any advice to your daughter about looking forward in the next 5 years, do you have anything you'd like to?
That's interesting because she's 21 and trying to figure out what happens happens next in her world, that kind of critical period between when you're coming to the end of college and don't know what to do. And I think, two pieces of advice that I give all of my children. First is, you don't have to know what you want to do right now. You don't have to need those. There's so much pressure for these kids to go into college, and they're declaring majors and picking the schools within the universities that they're going to be admitted to, and it feels like they're signing on the dotted line for the rest of their life. And as someone myself who I went to college. I had an English degree. I worked in financial services for a few years, and I got my master's while I was working for a nonprofit doing grant management for a cancer clinical trials group. And it wasn't until that piece was over that I said, I want to go to law school. I thought about it in college, but I just didn't really have, at the time, I didn't have the self-confidence to do it. And it was one of the best decisions ever made. So I've had this long path. And when my daughter gets worried about not knowing what she wants to do, I say, hey, when I was 21 in college, I had not a clue. And it was going to be almost a decade before I hit my stride of where I wanted to be. And we're fine. Everybody's fine. And it takes some of us a little bit longer. So that's the one thing. And then the other thing is, I think there has to be there's a balance between being able to do something where you can support yourself, but also be happy. I think if my kids, if there's something they want to do, my response is always, if you can pay your bills, you go for it. I will support you. We will figure it out. We will find a way for you to do it. But I just life is too short. You need to be doing something that you like. We're not all going to be following our passions per se and doing what we love 24 hours a day. But I really feel like there has to be some sort of emotional connection, or if there's not in that job you're doing right now, a goal in mind of where you can get to that. And if you can't get it through your job, then find another way to honor what is your passion, because that's what keeps you going.
That is wonderful advice. So San Antonio has so many good restaurants. Do you have a favorite?
That's hard. We live in Chavano Park, and so one of our favorites it used to be Wild Fish, now it's Eddie V's. It's our neighborhood restaurant, so we really love that. But I would say I can't. Yeah, I'm not. That's not. Sorry, not a good answer for me. I can't. I should have had to think about that one.
No. So also San Antonio is famous for its fiesta. Do you have a favorite fiesta event?
We love the King William Fair. We love taking our kids down to King William for for that event. We've got friends that have a house down there. And so they have a big, basically, send out an evite to the 300 of their closest friends and say, if you're in the area, come hang out. So, as long as you have somewhere with air conditioning and a restroom, you're in good shape. So that's our favorite as a family, is to go down there and hang out and just see what all there is to offer with the vendors and the fun parade and all of that. So it's our favorite.
Wow. So I know that you are featured in the current edition of the magazine, and you have a little history of the magazine. Can you tell me about your experience with Dale and Kathleen and how they have really taken this magazine to the next level?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So I've been a fan of the magazine for it's probably decades. I'm not sure, exactly when it came in, but I remember when it first came out. I love the features. I love seeing who was on the cover and reading about them. And then, at the beginning of my practice around that first year, I had known Dale and Kathleen. And so when they purchased the magazine and started publishing it, I was part of that transaction where they took over management of the magazine. And I've just been really impressed with what they've done in the past 5 years, especially going through a pandemic and everything in the middle of that. The content is amazing. I love seeing who the cover person is every issue and reading about them, because there's just so many amazing women in our community. And even though San Antonio feels like a small town, it's not. It's a large city. And so it's just really fun and encouraging to see all of the women in our community who are doing so much. And I feel like the focus of the magazine has honed in a little bit better on women and their contributions, and attendant to that, what is going on in our community, what's important to us in our community. And so, yeah, I love the brand. I love the magazine.
Dale and Kathleen have done such a great job really elevating the magazine and bringing it to our doors. We're so thankful. And it is a free magazine that you can pick up. We have some great cover women, and this Women-in-Law series, this podcast coming out, we have such great hopes for what's next to come.
Yeah, I can't wait to see it.
Me too. Thank you so much for your time today. We really appreciate you being a guest, and we look forward to the next step in Clausewitz Reyes.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.